Here he go. Here he go already. He started early with the Texans. He started early. He started early.
My boy, 9 a.m. with the helmet on.
Uh-oh. How you doing? How you doing? Welcome, Cesar Shorts III to the podcast once again. Appreciate you coming on. Obviously, the big game this weekend, Texans, Browns. You already know who we rooting for on this side. I would say it's probably a little piece. It's probably a little piece of you that's still rooting for the brown and orange, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But obviously, you know, having you back on and then just having you on earlier, you talked about just the atmosphere within the building and CJ Stroud and just his maturity early. And obviously throughout the rest of the season after that injury, he came back on fire. And so definitely wanted to bring you back on to obviously talk about the game, give some insight because you've been down there, you've seen the atmosphere, you've lived it. And so just want to touch in and see what's up down there in Houston and what's the atmosphere going to be like this Saturday.
Man, listen, man. First of all, being from Cleveland, I'm always going to root for the Browns. That's just what it is. I can't help it. It's in our blood, right? It's Browns, Cavaliers, Indians, or I guess Guardians now, whatever it is, right? But I do got to respect where I work at now, too.
For sure.
But it's gonna be interesting, man, because when you have a guy like CJ who is just unshakable, like he's a rookie. He's not supposed to be doing the things that he's doing. As a rookie quarterback, you're not supposed to, even as good as Peyton Manning was, he threw record-breaking interceptions. Even as good as Andrew Luck was his rookie year, they threw tons of interceptions. He's not turning the ball over. His ratio is like 23-5 when it comes to touchdown interceptions. He threw for 4,100 yards this year and missed 2 games. Now it's like it's amazing what he's able to do with, and no offense, Nico Collins, 1,200 yards this year, big year. It's funny too. He's from Michigan, CJ Ohio State. They throwing to each other. Mm-hmm. I feel bad for CJ because Nico probably hollering in his ear.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple weeks for him for sure.
Oh, for sure. But Nico had a heck of a year. But I mean, CJ's throwing to the open receiver. So whether it's your 4th receiver or 5th receiver like Noah Brown, whether it's your backup running back, whether it's your a savvy veteran, he's making everybody around him better. Doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to. So when Tank Dell went out, who's having a heck of a rookie season, he was feeding them. Noah Brown had 250-plus yard games back to back. You see what I'm saying? Like, he's feeding the tight end, Dalton Schultz. It's just how he's able to corral the group. And you guys know, y'all play ball. When you believe in your quarterback, when there's hope, when that guy gives you hope, like, hey, I don't care what the score is, what's going on, we got a chance to win because number 7's back there, and you got Laramie Tunsil and all these veterans buying into him, man. It's crazy the impact he's had. Like, it's not normal. It's not normal. And the Texans have found a gem. They have found a gem. I don't think nobody thought that he would be able to do what he's doing this year, how he's doing it. So that the city's on fire right now because nobody thought you would be hosting a playoff game, right? Because going into the last game, it was win and you're in. It's either Colts in or Houston's in. So the city of Houston, like, man, let's just win, get in this thing. We had a schedule. We ain't supposed to be good this year. You know, boom, boom, boom. So they won Saturday night in a tough game. And then everybody just thinking, okay, cool. Tennessee, we watched Houston beat Tennessee. Tennessee seemed like they're going to just lay down. They worry about vacations. Hey, when am I going home? I'm about to go to Hawaii. You know, just like, hey, we out of here. And they go into Jacksonville. Oh, sorry, Jacksonville go to Tennessee, and Tennessee put a whooping on them. They go up 21-10. The city literally is on fire. My phone blowing up like crazy. Twitter going crazy. Like, yo, we're about to host a game. Now the thing is, the Browns are a darn good team. Like the Browns, if the Ravens wasn't so good, they would probably win the division.
Right.
But the Ravens is on whatever, and the Cleveland beat the Ravens once this year. So it's gonna be interesting, man. But the city's on fire in Houston. They are so excited for the opportunity, and they truly feel like they got a chance.
You touched on it a little bit, that Colts game, and so I think the entire country knew that CJ Stroud was good. Like, but the issue you guys had, it weren't a lot of primetime games this year. So like anything that you heard about Stroud was either through Twitter, you saw an ESPN headline or whatever. But that final regular season game was the first time that probably the casual fan really got to see how good he was. And I don't have to list off all the great plays he made in that game, because he made some throws where I'm sure everyone down there was just like, come again? Like, what was you doing out there? So just what did that game do for not just the team, but like the national stage? Because I know up here in Buffalo, that game is, I've been following the Texans all year, but on a national stage, that game really put him and the rest of that team on the map.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The Texans weren't supposed to be good this year. So they had no Thursday night games, no Sunday night games, no Monday night games. Nothing was prime time. Every single game was at noon. When they started to start winning games, then they're like, hey, let's try to, they might flex this. They were thinking about flexing their schedule a little bit, but nothing really happened, right? So everybody was questioning, oh, this is CJ Stroud on the big stage. What's he going to do? What's the pressure going to be like? Yo, this dude played at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Like, y'all play D1 ball. Y'all know that's $100K every week, bro. That's millions of people watching every week. He played in the college football playoff against Georgia and balled out against Georgia. Like, nothing's too big for this young man. And he went out there in the first play from scrimmage, said, play action, drop back. I'm going to drop this 75-yard dime. And it was amazing because he actually, the play was designed for him to hit like the over route or something like that. But he said he just read the coverage. Like, they weren't in the coverage they thought they would be in. And the safety came down. And they said the safety came down. He said, okay, cool. I'm hitting Nico over top. Like, for a rookie to be able to understand what the defense is doing and then put it out there like, okay, oh, they're going to come down. I'm going to go over top. Like, to understand what to do as a rookie, read coverages in the big game. That was a playoff game. That's what that game was. It was simply a playoff game. And to perform the way he performed, it was incredible. I think he put the world on notice like, hey, I am who I am. I'm him, basically, right? If you were in Houston, you've seen it. If you were in Houston, you would say, well, watch Houston. You'd be like, okay, he's a top 10 quarterback, nobody about it. Top 8 probably in my book. But this dude is something special, man. And I'm telling you, if the Browns let him hang around, it's going to be a fight.
We've been talking about the offense a little bit, but one thing the Texans they do have is talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. You can talk about the secondary with Stingley and Stevenson Petrie, but then also the D-line with another rookie, Will Anderson. Kind of just talk about what they have meant to CJ Stroud and being able to create turnovers and get him the ball back. But also if CJ is, not having that great of a start or not having that great of a game, how you can put the defense on the field at the end of the game to go out there and win it for you.
Well, this is interesting because you guys know they drafted CJ 2 and they drafted Will Anderson 3. I don't know, since we've been living, if we've seen a team trade back up and go 2-3 back to back, right? And then hit on your second and third pick. Will Anderson got 7.5 sacks this year. Like, Will Anderson is putting on a show, and he's learning as he's going along. One thing about D'Amico Ryans, the head coach for the Texans, he knows how to develop talent on defense. If you look at Joey Bosa, look at all the round one pass rushers they had in San Fran, he knows how to use them, develop them, and put them in situations to succeed. So for him, Will Anderson is learning the game and learning it at a fast rate. But their mindset, CJ and Will, their mindset is the exact same. Like, they are very faith-based individuals. They are extremely hard workers. If you hear anything about CJ and Will, they're one of the first people in the building, and one of the last people to leave, and the hardest working in between. And that's special. So when you have a guy like that, that's kind of, as a rookie on the defensive side of the ball, pushing the veterans, and the veterans are expecting him and they see talent, and he's so willing to get information from Jerry Hughes, who's been in the league 12, 13 years. Get information from Sheldon Rankins, who's been in the league 7, 8, 9 years. To get information from all these vets you're going to see him continue to develop and continue to thrive. Stingley is special. And I'll go on record. I'll say this. I'm like, Stingley, if he can be healthy, he's going to be just the average corner, right? Because you guys, both of y'all play DB. It's a mental game. Like, to be DB, you got to be one of the most confident dudes on the field, like, ever. Like, you're playing backwards against a guy that's running forward and know exactly what he wants to do, and you have to guess. You may have a estimate of what he wants to do, right? But you have to figure out and react to what he's doing, on top of staying in your coverage. It's just amazing. I got so much respect for DBs, much respect to y'all. But Stingley literally can be the best corner in the league. That's how talented he is. And I think we saw it this year. Last year, injuries, rookie, didn't look confident, trying to figure it out. This year, D'Amico comes in. He's buying into what he's saying. Jonathan Joseph, former Houston Texan, former Cincinnati Bengal, former first-round pick. He comes in the offseason and has like an internship with them. And I think his tutelage and the way he thinks the game, he kind of poured it into Stingley. And Stingley at one point, at one stretch, had like 4 interceptions in 5 games. But it wasn't just your normal 4 interceptions. It was like baiting the quarterback to throw the post. I'm gonna hang off a little bit. I'm gonna stay in my coverage, hang off and cover 3 a little bit, hang off, get him to think he's open, and then react and make this play. And you know, as a DB, when you cut in front of a receiver, you better pick it off. Like,
you better pick it off or get a hand on it, because
or do something. Right?
Yeah, it's highlight.
Man, this dude is just. You can see his confidence is just picked up every single week, and Sauce gets all the conversation right now. He's in New York. He's playing well, especially his rookie year. He's deserving of it. But Stingley is special, man, and I'm interested to see this week if the adjustment will be if I'm a follow Amari Cooper. If I'm Stingley, right? Will Stingley follow Cooper? Will Stingley go side to side? Will he go on the slide? I'm just interested to see what they do. They haven't followed anybody all year, but when somebody has almost 300 yards on you, got to make some adjustments. You got to figure something out. But they have a young Petrie's having a decent year. He kind of struggled early on. He might have been benched once or twice throughout the year. It's been a kind of a up and down year for him. But the linebackers, Christian Harris, this dude, number 48, I promise you will see him everywhere on the field. He is lights out right now. D'Amico, Ryan, I keep bringing him up because he understands defense. And he was once a middle linebacker. And he poured into Christian Harris, who's from Alabama, who also played, and D'Amico also played at Alabama. So they got like a connection thing, right? But he just understands linebackers, and Christian is flying from sideline to sideline. He's going to be everywhere in the running game, in the pass game. He is just a special, hard-hitting dude, man. He just causes chaos. So I think the defense has a chance. The defense got a big task in front of them, though, if I'm going to be honest. The Browns have been battling some, I think the middle of the year, they had some offensive line struggles where it was like a fourth string center, and then this guy was hurt, and the guard was hurt, and the tackle was hurt. Well, those guys are starting to come back. And one thing you know about the Browns and Stefanski, and they're going to try to run that football. That's just what it is. So you got a big task in stopping that. And Flacco is somebody, if I'm honest, I'm rambling now, but Flacco is somebody that he's been there, done that. So it's going to be a tough task for that defense.
Now, you talked about him a little bit, and I want to touch on it a little bit further because he's like one of the few first coaches that I vividly remember as a player, and now he's a head coach in D'Amico Ryans. I do remember his days as a Texan. I vividly remember that as a kid, right? So can you we talk about CJ Stroud, and obviously he's helped spearhead the turnaround and give put the Texans back in that national relevance. Mm-hmm. But just speak on the culture shift and just how D'Amico Ryans has helped spearhead and change things around there in Texas. Because quite frankly, if he's not coach of the year, he's definitely a finalist for the things that he's helped the Texans do this year. Because, this was a team who, I know the Panthers are a laughing stock now, but going into the year, the Texans weren't too far behind them.
Let me say this. The term players coach is always used. I feel like it's used a lot. and I feel like it's kind of overused. Everybody's not a player's coach, right? And what's that even mean? What's that even mean? A player likes him. I feel like D'Amico understands the position that those players are in, so he knows how to reach them. The number one quality you need from a head coach in the NFL, can he lead men? That's the number one quality you need. It's not about X's and O's. It's not about how smart you are when it comes to offensive schemes or defensive schemes. It's, can you lead men? Can you get this 31, 32-year-old man to buy into what you're saying? Who got a family, who got mortgage, probably making more money than you. Can you get him to buy in and give it all for the team? If you look at D'Amico and how he carries himself and how excited he gets on the sideline and his mindset, his player mindset, and how he can reach the guys and cares for the guys and love for the guys. And you guys know playing ball, like if somebody truly, if your coach loves you and truly cares about you, you're going to run through a brick wall for him. You're going to run through a big wall for him. You might not always agree with what he's saying. You might not always understand, but you're going to run through a big wall for him. You have a trust, like, you know what? He got my best interest in mind. So whatever my role is, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And he's done that this year with veterans, with rookie guys. They all have a true understanding of what he wants out of them, and he gets the best out of them week in and week out. Man, he's definitely a candidate for Coach of the Year, as well as Stefanski. I think Stefanski is up there as well. But D'Amico's definitely worthy.
And another thing I do want to touch on a tad is we talked about it a little bit earlier on, like when things began to shift down there in Houston. When do you think, because I know it was probably before that week 18 game against the Colts, when did this stop becoming a feel-good story? And like, when did it stop becoming like, oh my gosh, like guys, like we're playing with house money, and like, no, we're actually a good ball club. Like we deserve to be here. This isn't like some fluke, the reason why we're having success on the field.
You know what? I think, that's tough. That's tough because they had Baltimore week 1, right? And you've seen some things in CJ against Baltimore week 1. Nobody expected Houston to beat Baltimore, and they didn't. But you've seen some things week 1, like, okay, he ain't played that bad. Then week 2 happens. I think Indianapolis comes to town in Houston, and it's Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud, right? And CJ shows some things, and the defense shows some things, but he ended up losing the game. Then you go to Jacksonville, and you put a whooping on Jacksonville. That was Tank Dell, like had 100-something yards, and the defense, and a kickoff return, and Will Anderson blocked the kick. It was an excitement, right? So like 1-2. And then as time goes on, I would say about mid-season, you're like, wait a second. They would win 1, they would lose 1, they would win 2. It's like, yo, you're in every single game. This is no longer a fluke. You really have a shot. But I think it took a while for all of us to understand how good the young Texans were, because there was games like they probably should have beat Atlanta. CJ drives them down the field with less than 2 minutes to go. They go up, and then Atlanta comes back and scores, right? And if you lose to Carolina and Atlanta in the 3-week period, you're like, you probably should have beat them. Maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. And then they go in and they, beat a good team, and then they go in and they win just 2-3 games in a row. They are, I think around mid-season, we're like, okay, this is going to be a good year. But towards the end of the year, it's like, yo, we got a shot to make the playoffs because of how things are going on. So it took a while, because I think I'll speak for myself, when you're a franchise that's kind of starting over, you got a new head coach, you got a rookie offensive coordinator, you drafted a bunch of guys, you kind of think, all right, you want to progress. So last year they won 3 games. This year, let's win between, I think I said 6 and 8 games. And then you kind of move on from there. They were like, hey, we're ahead of schedule. And the Texans fans really started to believe towards the end of this season, when things got real in that playoff picture. When that playoff picture started getting in the conversation, I think things got real for the Houston fans.
Earlier, we did touch on Amari Cooper, and you touched on Derek Stingley maybe having to travel, trying to limit Amari Cooper after having a career day last time against the Texans. Touch on just something that you see from the Browns, something that you saw from Flacco, something that you saw from Amari Cooper, but also just that defense that's just been flying around. And, if it wasn't for the Ravens, they'd be, at the top of the list inside in the league.
Well, I'll be honest. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Stefanski. I think he needs to get tons and tons of credit to have 4 quarterbacks this season. You go from Deshaun to PJ Walker to whoever was in between them two.
My boy DTR.
There it is. You got DTR who won 1 or 2 games, right? Yeah. And then you bring in another veteran who won a couple games. And then you, at the end of the year, I guess Andrew Berry needs some love too, to go out there and get a guy like Flacco. It's like, hey, we need a guy that's a veteran, that can go, that understands what we're trying to do, that can win in November and December and January. They always say good teams win in December, right? That's when all the big games matter on going to the playoffs. But Flacco is somebody that was literally a perfect fit. He played in the AFC North. He played in Baltimore. He played in the cold. He played in humongous games. He's a Super Bowl champion. He is somebody that is one of the better quarterbacks that's played in this league. He was a productive quarterback in the NFL for a very long time. And he played at a high level with a great defense. So he understands what I need to do and what I don't need to do. I think he understands how much he can, how to manage a football game and not lose a football game, right? And I think that's what you want from a veteran guy who's just on the couch, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago. But what he's been able to do is special. It's special. It just shows his veteran leadership. It shows his responsibility and just him being a professional, right? I think the defense is the number one thing for the Browns right now. Best defense in the league by far. You got 2 edge rushers that are unbelievable. You got guys in the secondary that you can play man coverage and just blitz or get pressure on the quarterback. And when you have that frees you up on offense to, hey, if we don't turn the ball over, if we just score, hey, give me 17 points, give me 14 points, give me 21 points, we can win this game. That gives confidence to Stefanski and Joe, like, hey, this is all we got to do. So I think the Browns are in prime position, if I'm honest, to make a Super Bowl run, even without Nick Chubb, even without Deshaun Watson, simply because they understand what type of team they are. Their identity didn't change. Even they were banged up, their identity didn't change. They still want to run the football. Were they as effective without Chubb and without the offensive line, the starting offensive line? They weren't. But you still seen them respect the run game and still run the ball. Now with the offensive line getting more healthy, between Ford and Hunt, I think in January you're going to get, especially when you get outside, say that they win this game, you got to go somewhere cold. It's going to be outside games from now on, whether it's Buffalo, Kansas City, or the Ravens. It's going to be cold games. You got to be able to run the football. I think it's going to be key for Flacco to not turn the ball over. I believe he has 13 touchdowns and 8 interceptions right now. And there's times where he's forcing the ball just a little bit, or it's kind of a freaky thing happens. He has to protect the football. If he doesn't turn it over, Browns got a shot in every single game simply because of that defense. When you can put Denzel Ward and Newsome on anybody and say, hey, y'all man up, and you got Dale Pitt coming back this week. I believe he's off IR. Mm-hmm. And you're getting pressure with the edge rushers and Garrett and Smith. It's scary. It really, really is. And it's a handful for any offense to prepare for that. Because number one, like, I guarantee you, so the game's on Saturday this week, right? I guarantee you on Monday, a team meeting, they had Myles Garrett pop up on the screen for the Texans. This is the guy we have to contain. We got to know where he is at all times. At all times. I remember playing against J.J. Watt when I was in Jacksonville, and we had a game plan for wherever he lined up. That's how we blocked. Wherever he was, that's where we're blocking to. If he was on the left, we're going to change the play. We're going to block to the left. If he was on the right, we're going to move a running back over, move a tight end down, motion the receiver, and we're going to block J.J. Watt. So when you have a guy like Myles that's going to cause that much attention, it opens the 10 other guys up on defense. It makes those guys' job easier. Now Smith is one-on-one. Now you got these guys one-on-one. And that's what you want, right? On top of Miles is just a special specimen who probably could win Defensive Player of the Year. So you can double, triple, let alone even one-on-one. He's still going to make plays regardless because he is who he is. But that defense is going to carry them, man. And Flacco is just a perfect fit. He understands, okay, who are my playmakers? David Njoku. Oh my gosh. Fantasy football. I don't know if y'all play fantasy. He was starting. I had Njoku Laporta. I'm like,
are you good?
You was set.
My dog's eating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way he's a top 5 tight end right now. So don't just worry about Amari. Yeah, focus on Amari if you want to. We got a mismatch in Njoku. Like, who's going to check him? Who's going to stop him? He's 6, whatever, long arms. He burnt his face off and still catching touchdowns. Like, this dude is having a miraculous year. And then you got some young receivers as well that can make plays. But Flacco knows, okay, we're going to run the ball. I'm going to find Njoku. I'm going to find Cooper. Don't turn the ball over. Let my defense do what they do. If we put up 17, 21 points, we're good. Like, we're good because the defense is probably going to get a turnover. They're going to get a sack. We got short field. Now we get short field. It's our job to get points. That's all. Convert and make sure. If we get a turnover, let's convert it to points. So I think the Browns are in really, really good shape this playoff season.
I just wish our kicker wasn't injured, but
hamstring.
How we lose 2 specialists in the same game? Like 2 in the same game?
Oh
Crazy,
my goodness, man.
Crazy. Matter of fact, it was the Texas game.
It was the Texas game. The kick return.
I'm like, why are they going for 2?
And you know what's crazy? And y'all both know this. That kicker was doing that fake hustle stuff where he acted like he was chasing somebody. Bro, you know you weren't catching him. You know you weren't. So, bro, like, we all done did that fake hustle, no loafing. Like, you don't want to loaf on the football field. Well, bro, we need you, bro. Them hamstrings is important, my boy. You don't need to chase nobody down.
No, you're wrong.
For real. A question I do have, though, and sticking on the Browns, and then you talk about the keys for their success, and I want to ask about the Texans, their keys to success. But it's funny how you played offense and you know what it's like scout team week when you play against those type of defenses, right? And you know a team like the Browns, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a ton of man coverage and a lot of pressure up front. But there's no scout team that can replicate corners that can run 4-3 and Myles Garrett and stuff of that nature. Now, granted, for the Texans, they've seen this team before, so they're not going to be a shell shocked. But from a Texans perspective, what are their keys to success? And if they want to, I don't want to call it an upset because they're at home and they're a very respectable team. But if they want to pull out a win in the CJ Stroud era, what must go down?
They got to figure out how to beat man coverage. You got to get the ball out quickly. There's no nothing around it. Like, you have to find ways with the receivers you have, with Robert Woods, with Nico Collins, with Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz. You got those guys have to beat man coverage. Like, if you don't beat man coverage, if you can't get open against Denzel Ward, which is a tough task, if you can't beat man coverage, you're going to be in for a long day, buddy, because they're going to bring pressure. That's what they do. They're going to bring pressure. So on the offensive side, they got to get the ball out quickly. Bobby Sloag, the offensive coordinator, needs meshing routes, needs man beaters, needs pick plays. You have to find ways to get that ball out fast because you got about 2.5, maybe, with Miles coming. You got to get that ball out quick, man. So you got to be creative with your motions, your screen game. Your screen game can't just be to the running back. You got to get screen game outside to your receivers. You got to get in bunch formations. And when you get in bunch, a lot of the time, you guys know the DBs will back off a little bit and they'll communicate, hey, in and out here or whatever the case may be. You can get them to back off some. So go and come squeeze formations. So for the casual fan, I mean, squeeze is maybe it's 2x2 receivers out wide. Just squeeze them in. And when you squeeze them in, the DBs normally back off a little bit. So when they back off, that gives quarterback more space to throw for the quick outs, for the slants, for the hitches, for the stick routes. And those 5-yard gains, those 4-yard gains, those add up. And then you can take your shots down the field. Then you can go double moves down the field. So I think that's going to be key, man. Getting the ball out quick and beating man coverage. On the defensive side of the ball, you got to stop the explosives. Like Amari Cooper, David Njoku, they went, especially Coop, he went nuts last game. last time these two teams met. And this interesting. There was a stat towards the end of the year for the Texans defense on the left side, the deep left side of the field. They've been getting torched. It's like a 60% on deep balls they've been completing on the left side of the defense for the Texans. And that's basically opposite field of Stingley. So they got to find a way to really communicate well on defense. They got to find a way to stop the explosive plays. And I don't have an answer for that. Besides Stingley maybe following them and trying to get pressure on Flacco, get him trying to turn a turnover. But it's going to be hard to surprise a veteran or trick a veteran, right? Flacco's seen it all. He done it all. Wasn't that a song? Done it all. Like he's seen it all. So like he's going to be able to adjust and make plays. But they got to get pressure and get some turnovers. If you get turnovers and can stay close in the game, you give CJ a chance, you're all right. But and then I'm gonna say this too. One more key for the Texans: they got to have a big play on special teams. Like they got to have a big play because I think you need all three phases to play at a high level to beat the Browns. I truly, truly do. So your offense got to beat man coverage and score points. The defense got to force a turnover, but you need a big return or a big block or something that can give you some momentum because the Browns are a solid team.
And now even flip side for the Browns, I feel like it's pretty much similar. Like the things that you said the Texans got to do, pretty much the things the Browns got to do in order for them to win. You know, obviously be able to find Cooper in multiple different ways. He's been killing the intermediate game, and then obviously against the Texans last time had a bunch of explosive plays. But what are some other things you think the Browns got to do to pull out the win in this one as well?
Flacco can't turn the ball over. 8 interceptions in the short time he was playing. Don't give them guys a chance, man. Don't give CJ the ball back. Don't give that kid no momentum. He has no boundaries. He don't care. He don't care he's a rookie. He really think he's him. Like he really is that confident in himself, and it's amazing to see. I think they need to run the football. I truly do. Find some rhythm in the running game, and that's been kind of iffy because of the injuries we talked about, right? But you have to be able to run the football. And it's not even about this week. It's about this. If you're going to make a playoff run and you're going to go to Kansas City or you're going to go to Buffalo or you're going to go to the Ravens, you have to establish the running game. Personally, it's my Browns fan coming out. It's weird voting for Flacco because it's like he was on the other team for so long. But now it's like I don't want him to have to feel like he has to win the game. I want a balanced offense, right? I trust the defense more than anything else. Like they're gonna do their part, but you have to have a balanced offense. If Flacco's throwing the ball 50 times, the Browns in trouble. If he's throwing it 25, 28 times, you're in good shape because he can make any throw, but you don't want him to have to win the game. If that makes sense. So I think balance on the offense, continue what you're doing on defense, and then when you get those turnovers to put the points up. Put the points on the board every single drive. Unrealistic, but as many points as you can to get that defense a cushion, and you're sitting pretty.
And don't lose any special teamers in support.
And we don't give up any special team plays. That's the big thing because obviously we gave up that kickoff return last time. That obviously because I think Flacco came out at the game at one point, and then the Texans started to get rolling a little bit. Then they had to bring him back in.
Yeah.
So it was that was a wild game for sure because we was going for 2, we were going for it on 4th down, and then we weren't getting it, and then y'all had an opportunity to put points on the board too.
You know what's going to be interesting? The coaching matchup here. So to see a defensive minded head coach in DeMeco Ryans versus an offensive minded head coach in Kevin Stefanski. Like I'm interested to see that battle, that mind game they try to play on each other. Kind of the tendencies that they normally have, are they going to switch them up? So it's going to be interesting to see because they played each other once already. Mm-hmm. They were successful. The Browns were successful. So it's going to be interesting to see like the adjustments that they make on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball to try to stop each other or to try to continue to have success against the Texans. I think that's going to be a huge matchup.
One thing, and I hate that I didn't touch on this earlier, but going back to the Stroud piece a little bit, obviously is a fantastic player on the field, and for my money is going to be in these conversations as one of the best for a very, very long time, just based off the sample size we've seen this year. But I think there's something different to him and how he kind of handles himself in front of a mic, in front of fans, in front of just anyone who can see him visibly, right? And I think that's what kind of separates him as a rook. Like, his play on the field is one thing, but I mean, Croft can attest to it. Just some of the answers that he gives in post game, some of the stuff that the Pat McAfee show, how he handled himself last week. I don't know if you guys would trust a 21-year-old on a Pat McAfee show. Don't know like how many you would trust in front of Pat, but clearly the Texans trusted him enough to do that. His maturity, I think, is something that we quite frankly haven't seen out of someone who's 21 or 22. How important has that been for the Texans' success this year?
I think that's what separates him. I think that's what won him the job. I think that's what the veterans see in him is his maturity, the way he handles press conferences. And it's genuine. Like, he's himself, right? A lot of quarterbacks, and I love the change in quarterback that you see. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's probably because it's more young black quarterbacks coming out. They're themselves. They have hoodies on. They have hats on. They got beanies. They got long hair that come down. They got, the locks or whatever. They can be themselves, and they're comfortable being themselves. So CJ never changed anything for him. He was that way at Ohio State from what I did my research and talked to other people there. Like, that's just how he is. So for him, being so confident in himself and kind of being mature over his years probably goes back to his upbringing, if I'm honest. Him losing his dad early to prison. And then his mom holding the fort down and helping, doing her best and surrounding him with men that can help him become a young man, and her holding it down as well. But the stuff he's been through, the stuff he's seen, and then his time at Ohio State has just made him a very mature young quarterback. And it's exciting to see a young black man in that realm holding it down like that. It really, really is. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's a breath of fresh air to see somebody go up there and talk eloquently and communicates well, and he can still be himself, still have all the swag he got, and then go out there and produce, and then go out there and say, hey, that game, he's strong in his faith. It's just a lot that's impressive about him that I think won everybody over, probably in the draft process, and when he got on the team, it was just like. I mean, when you have your starting left tackle or all-pro or pro bowler, before training camp happens, puts out a tweet and an Instagram like, hey, number 7 is my quarterback. They haven't played one single game yet. Not preseason, not anything. This is the last practice before they get like a month break before they go to training camp. He's like, hey, this is my quarterback. You win guys over in a month, there's something different about you.
All right, last thing. I do got to ask. You've been working on your dance, Soak City, the left, right. Let me see you do. I hope I don't see it too much, but that, I mean, whenever he pull that out, I'll be like, okay, all right. They definitely added some swag down there now. I mean, I hope I don't see it too much, but. It's definitely been fun to watch, CJ and to watch the Texans, but also obviously watch the Browns have some success this year as well. So I feel like when they had the game, I hit up Carl a couple of days ago, and I was like, we got to reconnect with Cesar to get his thoughts on it. So appreciate you. Game is Saturday, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 CT for y'all on NBC. So Browns versus Texans wild card matchup. I mean, Cleveland fans, we've been waiting on this. I know we had a playoff game a few years ago with Baker, but, I don't really count. This the one because we got some hope. And I know the Texans obviously are happy to be back into the playoffs. So appreciate you coming on again. I know you got a long day. Thanks for stopping in. Shaun Crawford, your host of Varsity House Podcast. Carl Jones, co-host, and Cesar Shorts III. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate y'all.